All right, I think we're ready to go.
Hello everyone, this is Reverend Dr. Roger Palm. Tonight we're going to continue our study of paper 106, the Universe Levels of Reality. And we're on section 5, which is on page 106, or section 106.51, or page 1167.2 in the original book. So let's say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight to study this wonderful revelation. We pray that you'll open our hearts and minds tonight, that we might absorb some of this information. It's very difficult to know. Pray that you'll watch over us tonight, that we might learn something and be able to teach others these wonderful concepts. We thank you and give you the praise in your Son's name, Jesus, my Lord and heaven on, and your will be done in our lives. Amen. All right. Start out with you. Yes. 5. The co-absolute or fifth phase of association. The ultimate is the apex of transcendental reality, even as the supreme is the capstone of evolutionary experiential reality. And the actual emergence of these two experiential deities lies the foundation for the second experiential trinity. This is the Trinity Absolute. The union of God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and the unrevealed consummator of universe destiny. And this Trinity has theoretical capacity to activate the absolutes of potentiality, deity, universal and unqualified. But the complete formation of this Trinity Absolute could take place only after the complete evolution of the entire master universe from Havona to the fourth and outermost space level. I'm going to go forward. Oops. We'll go forward one slide here. If I can. And there's a beautiful picture of this very thing they're talking about. The second, or the absolute Trinity, what they're calling the second experiential Trinity, is the supreme, the evolved supreme, the eventuated ultimate being, and the consummators of the universe deity. That's the yellow triangle inside this. Okay? The third level of the Trinity of Trinities is the outside. The supreme, the ultimate, and the qualified absolute. Okay? And they're talking about the second one here, and that's this inside circle of this diagram. Okay? And that's the one, they say that this Trinity has the theoretical capacity to activate the absolutes of potentiality, which is deity, universal, and unqualified. Okay? So those activate the universal and unqualified. All right. The next slide I have here is a slide that tells us what God the Ultimate is. Okay. You want to read? You want to read this one?
I can. God the Ultimate, the eventuating God of supertime and transcendent space, the second experiential level of unifying deity manifestation. God the Ultimate implies the attained realization of the synthesized, absonite, superpersonal, time-space transcendent, and eventuated experiential values, coordinated on final creative levels of deity reality. Ultimate. Ultimate God, the ultimate entails the attained realization of the synthesized, absonite, superpersonal, time-space transcendent, and eventuated experiential values, coordinated on final creative levels of deity reality. Ultimate means final, the final level of reality just before absolute.
So the ultimate, when we think of the ultimate, we think of the final levels of all physical reality, and it's just before the absolute. All right, we remember God the Absolute is one of the 7 absolutes, right? Okay, so that's why I stuck this slide in here, so that we kind of understand what they're talking about here, right? Stephen, would you take the next one here?
Okay, can we bring that a little on my left, over to the left a little bit? It's kind of, I can't read a little bit of
Yeah.
it.
This one here?
Have you switched your screen?
Oh,
And you know what he's saying is our pictures they are on this screen anyway.
on the left side?
They're on the right, but they're behind me as well.
Okay, let me take
Yeah,
that.
they're on my right too.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay. Oh, because of this, the other screens
Yeah.
that's in the way?
Yeah.
The pictures are kind of covering the words there.
I got you.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me see if I can move this over.
There it is.
Oh,
Good.
Oh, that help some?
Yeah,
That's
that's good
good.
right there.
That's good.
All right.
Okay. Let me make clear that these experiential trinities are correlating not only of the personality and qualities of the experiential divinity, but also of all the other than personal qualities which characterize their attained deity unity. While this presentation deals primarily with personal phases of the unification of the cosmos, it is nonetheless true that the impersonal aspects of the universe of universes are likewise destined to undergo unification, as is illustrated by the power-personality synthesis now going on in connection with the evolution of the Supreme Being. The spirit personal qualities of the Supreme are inseparable from the power prerogatives of the Almighty, and both are complemented by the unknown potential of Supreme Mind. Neither can God, the ultimate as a person, be considered apart from the other than personal aspect of the ultimate deity. And on the absolute level, the deity and the unqualified absolutes are inseparable and indistinguishable in the presence of the universal absolute.
Okay, so when we talk about the unqualified absolute and the deity absolute and the universal absolute, we talk about them as separate units, right? But in reality, they're inseparable because the universal absolute brings the personal deified and the unpersonal non-deified together. And that's why it's called the universal absolute. The other thing is the universe itself is connected to the power synthesis of the Supreme Being. In other words, as the Supreme Being comes into full fruition, it cannot be separated from the universes of universes. Okay? They're all intertwined. You can't break them apart. They wouldn't be an entity apart. All right? So it mentions here the Supreme Mind. Okay? And it says here that the spirit personal qualities of the Supreme are inseparable from the power prerogatives of the Almighty. And they're both complemented by the unknown potential of the Supreme Mind. And what are we talking about when we talk about the Supreme Mind? Okay, here we go. Accounts for reflectivity. This is the Supreme Mind. The Supreme Mind makes reflectivity possible. Okay? Activates living mechanisms of the grand universe. It bestows on the Supreme by the infinite spirit, the Supreme Mind. The cosmic mind coordinates with the Supreme Mind. The finaliter and paradise Havoner trinitization repercussions in the Supreme Mind. Majeston, okay, we remember Majeston, that is the being that makes reflectivity possible, focalizes presence of and in the Supreme Mind. And progressive evolutionary indicates dominance of the Supreme Mind in everything. Okay, solitary messengers are repercussions of the bestowal of the Supreme Mind, and it unifies spirit person of the Supreme with attained power of the Almighty. And it is an unknown potential. It has unknown potential. So they're not sure exactly what all the Supreme Mind actually does. Okay? All right. All right, let's get back on track here. Stephen, would you take this one again, please? And then we'll go back to mine.
Millie's on one.
Oh, is she? Okay, Millie, would you take this one, please, if you're,
Yes,
you don't want to read off.
trinities are in and of themselves not personal, but neither do they contravene personality. Rather do they encompass it and correlate it, collective sense with impersonal functions. Trinities are then always deity, reality, but never personality, reality. Personality aspects of a trinity are inherent in its individual members, and as individual persons, they are not that trinity. Only as a collective are they trinity. That is trinity. But always is trinity inclusive of all encompassed deity. Trinity is deity united.
So you might have multiple personalities involved in a trinity, but these personalities still have their own individual personality. It's only when they come together are they considered trinity, right? And some members of a trinity are personal and some are not, in many cases. All right. Stephen, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. You want me to get this?
Yes, please.
Okay. The three absolutes, deity, universal, and unqualified, are not Trinity, for all are not deity. Only the deified can become Trinity. All other associations are triunities or triodities.
Okay, and we have 2 slides after this that explains these. Okay, this is the 7 triunities. Let me go ahead one. This is the two dual triodities. Let's go through these again so we can refresh our memories of it. The first triunity of the 7 is the personal triunity, and that's a purposive triunity of the Father, Son, and Spirit, 3 personalities, right? There's a power triunity, which is a pattern triunity of the Father, Son combined with Paradise and the conjoint actor. Now we still have 3 personalities here, don't we? But we also have Paradise, which is a non-personality. Okay, this is why this is called the power pattern triunity, because it involves Paradise and the conjoint actor. Okay? The third one is the spirit triunity, evolutionary triunity, and that involves the Father, the Son and Spirit combined, and the deity absolute. Okay? The triunity of energy infinity. Now, that includes the Father and the Spirit combined with Paradise and the unqualified absolute. Now, why would that be? Because all energy comes from Paradise, right? And is controlled by the unqualified absolute. Okay? And then we have the triunity of reactive infinity. And that is the Father, the unqualified, and the qualified absolutes. Okay? Then the cosmic triunity, this is what's called an associative triunity. That is the Father, the deity absolute, and the universal absolute, not the unqualified. Right? And then finally, the 7th one is the triunity of the infinite unity. This is the unity triunity. And this involves the Father, the conjoint actor, and the universal absolute. And we know the universal absolute involves both the deity and non-deity absolutes, right? All right. And then we have the dual triality, the non-father triune relationships. And then we have that includes the triodity of actuality, which is the Son, the Paradise, and the conjoint actor. Why is this called the triodity of actuality? Because it's through the Son and the conjoint actor that makes action possible. And they do that through the Isle of Paradise. That's the action part of the original triunity. And then we have the triodity of potentiality, everything that's possible. So that includes the qualified, the unqualified, and the universal absolutes. Remember that slide we just looked at just a minute ago? That includes that there too. Okay? All right, skip it. All right. Let's go on to the sixth phase.
Can I ask a question here?
Please do, Melly.
Stephen, did you see anything on those last two slides?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you know what? You're pulling those slides up. I don't have access to them. It just says they're not able to pull them up. So they're not able to see those.
We saw absolutely nothing. I saw a blue screen divided into
Yeah.
three and a blue screen divided into
Okay, then that's, that is the,
And also that,
It's only me.
yeah.
no, why is that showing?
It says it's not able to pick it up. See what it come like this?
Picture cannot be displayed. Oh, we lost all our pictures.
Yeah, because the first one, when you pulled the first one, I
There's-
couldn't get it
the
either.
picture cannot be displayed.
Okay, let me reload this then.
We're doing something a little different tonight, so, and so this is a result of that. It's a good picture,
Nice
really.
close. Okay, hang on, give me just 1 minute. Let me exit full screen for a
But it's
second.
okay, but I didn't see it, see it. But
No, I want y'all to be able to see these as we
I thought
go
you
through
could
it.
see it, Ron.
On the web, what it showed.
Let me take it, bring it in from the cloud here, my one slides, and that way it should be there. It may be because this drive comes in and out all the time. Give me 1 second here. Here's the of reality here. Yeah, there's a bunch more.
See, I didn't get this one.
Okay, it's good. You probably can see the,
It didn't.
there we go.
All right.
Let me share this out again. With the little pink, there it is. It lost the disk drive, it probably got hit over here. Share. You should be able to see it now. Millie, can you see it now?
Yeah.
Everybody see it? Okay, that was the slides I just went through.
The 7 images, page
Se-
747?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
Okay, and then the dual trialities is the one after that. Alright, so now we're on absolute sixth phase. Hopefully that'll cure that problem.
So all the other ones will show up too.
Yeah, all the other ones should show up too. It's because your computer probably knocked that little thing. It just takes a tap and it disconnects
okay.
from that drive. Okay, leave it is.
6, absolute or six-phase integration. The present potential of the master universe is hardly absolute, though it may well be near ultimate, and we deem it impossible to achieve the full revelation of absolute meaning, values within the scope of a sub-absolute cosmos. We therefore encounter considerable difficulty in attempting to conceive of a total expression of the limitless possibilities of the three absolutes, or even in attempting to visualize the experiential personalization of God the Absolute on the now and personal level of the deity absolute.
Okay, so let me go ahead one slide here. You can see this is the destiny slide, okay? And what they're talking about here is the potential of the master universe, or the universe we're living in right now, is hardly absolute because we have 4 outer space levels on the outside of us. It's got to develop yet, right? Okay, and we can't reach what they call a full revelation of absolute meanings and values in a sub-absolute cosmos. We don't live in an absolute cosmos, so we live in a sub-absolute cosmos. And because of that, they have difficulty explaining to us the possibilities of the three absolutes. All right, that's just all there is to it. So when we look at our destiny, the qualified, the universal, and the unqualified absolute, this is our basically our experiential absolutes that will evolve over time. Okay, and from this, from the unqualified absolute comes paradise, too, right? So that is the beginning of all the master universe and all the four outer space levels, okay, because of this. All right, let's keep moving. So, who's up? I am? Okay. The space stage of the master universe seems to be adequate for the actualization of the Supreme Being. That's our experiential Supreme, right? For the formation and the full function of the Trinity Ultimate. For the eventuation of God the Ultimate. And even for the inception of the Trinity Absolute, which we just looked at, right? But our concepts regarding the full function of the second experiential Trinity seem to imply something even beyond the wide-spreading master universe. So, if you look at this next slide, the Trinity, the second level of Trinities of Trinities, we take, basically, this is the second experiential too. We have the evolved Supreme Being, the qualified Absolute, right, which is the deity part of the Absolute. And then we have the eventuated ultimate being. And this is the transcendental or absonite being. All right? And this is after all the master universe has reached its final fruition. So this is very, very far in the future of the universe, right? So far out we can't even conceive of it. All right?
So we're basically just giving evidence that of the vastness of.
That's right. This will happen. It's just, it's way down the plan, right? All right. So let's keep moving. Millie, would you take this one?
I think Stevens.
Oh, it's Stephen next? No, Millie's after me. Stephen's after Millie.
All right. If we assume the cosmos infinite sum illimitable cosmos on beyond the master universe, and if we conceive that the final developments of the absolute Trinity will take place out on such a super ultimate stage of action, then it becomes possible to conjecture that the complete function of the Trinity Absolute will achieve final expression in the creations of infinity and will consummate the absolute actualization of all potentials. The integration and association of ever-enlarging segments of reality will approach absoluteness of status proportional to the inclusion of all reality within the segments thus associated.
Okay, so again, we're talking about way far in the future, when all these things, when all the potentials are activated, when all the potentials are reached, and all four outer space levels, then when they're talking about we'll approach a status that will include all reality in this, right? And then that's what they're talking about in this slide, the absolute Trinity and the consummators of the universe destiny, way far in the future. Okay? I know I keep bringing that slide up, but I want y'all to understand where this stuff fits in.
Is that the only, it's on page 171, I need to research that. Consummator of universe destiny, that's the only place in the book that it's shown.
I believe so, yeah. Now, I believe this is the only time they talk about it, is in this.
It's the ultimate.
Right, yeah. Huh?
No, that's true.
No, I'm gonna get back on track because I can't keep track of it unless I keep it in my
Oh,
mind. So
okay.
you go ahead and go.
All right. Stated otherwise, the Trinity Absolute, as its name implies, is really absolute in total function. We do not know how an absolute function can achieve total expression on a qualified, limited, or otherwise restricted basis. Hence, we must assume that any such totality function will be unconditioned in potential, and it would also appear that the unconditioned condition would also be unlimited, at least from a qualitative standpoint, though we are not so sure regarding quantitative relationships.
So even they don't understand all of this, right, as it goes on into the future, basically. Okay. However, we are certain, while the existential paradise trinity is infinite, and while the experiential trinity ultimate is sub-infinite, the Trinity Absolute is not so easy to classify. Though experiential in Genesis and Constitution, it definitely impinges upon the existential absolutes of potentiality. So even though these are experiential trinities that grow into being, their future turns into an existential absolute. In other words, a being that is always there, always has been, always will be. Right? That's probably why they say the supreme being is right now in paradise, in Havana. Right?
I'm going to hear what you say. It's right now in what?
In paradise in Havana, because it reaches out, even though it's not in full fruition, Millie, it is still considered in the future existential personality. And what do they mean by existential personality? Is it always has been, always will be.
It's just evolving.
It's just evolving into that existential personality. So it always has been the supreme, but it's growing. So as it grows in experience, it steps further and further into existential reality rather than just experiential reality. Right? So it always will be. And we're part of that supreme. Right? So that makes us what? Because of our deity fusion with the thought adjuster, and us being children of the Supreme, what does that mean to us? That means that that's what makes us eternal. That's why we never die. After we fuse with our adjusters, we will go on forever. Because we fuse with existential reality in the thought adjuster. Make sense? And the longer we're here with the thought adjuster, our memory of those things of the past and those things of the future constantly expand as we can grow and accept it with our own experience. Makes it pretty special if you think about it. That's what you call eternal life. That's where we get eternal life, right? All right. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. While it is hardly profitable for the human mind to seek to grasp such faraway and superhuman concepts, we would suggest that the eternity action of the Trinity Absolute may be thought of as culminating in some kind of experientialization of the absolutes of potentiality. This would appear to be a reasonable conclusion with respect to the universal absolute, if not the unqualified absolute. At least we know that the universal absolute is not only static and potential, but also associative in the total deity sense of those words. But in regard to the conceivable values of divinity and personality, these conjectured happenings imply the personalization of the deity absolute and the appearance of those superpersonal values and those ultra-personal meanings inherent in the personality creation of God the Absolute, the third and last of the experiential deities.
Okay, so they understand that it's hard for us to understand this. And they understand that many parts of it, like the universal and the unqualified absolute and the deity compared to the divinity and personality, these things are just vague concepts to us. And they understand we can't totally grasp this at this point in our lives because we're finite beings, right?
Very
Very finite beings. And after this, I have put 3 slides, which I'm not going to take the time to read because we've read them before. But I put them in here if you want to refresh your memory on the universal absolute. This is all about the universal absolute, the unqualified absolute, the non-deity part of absolute, and the universal absolute. I meant to put the deity absolute. But you can read through those at your leisure. I don't want to delay the point too much.
So, would it be fair to say then, the best way to understand it is with faith, trust, and loyalty in God the Father?
That's exactly right, Steve.
Don't understand all the little
Yeah,
details,
really.
but now we get a concept of His plan.
That's right.
And the key is following God's will.
That's right. I was reading something today in paper 132, and Jesus was talking, I forget which section it was in 132, but he was talking to a young man about how faith is what makes us sons of God in this lifetime. And he was talking about how it's faith that marries us in a sense to our thought adjuster, because we're faith sons of God as human beings. It's not till we get to the mansion worlds until we become real sons of God, because we fuse with that father fragment. But he made a point to say that we are faith God in this existence, and it's by our faith that we become sons of God. So faith is a big part of it. If you don't have faith in God the Father and trust in God the Father that this is what will happen, then you're lost. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So it's by faith we are saved. You know, we've heard this over and over again, that it's the faith that saves us, not anything else, but our faith that we are saved. Okay, so that's a big part of it. And you hit it right on the nose, Stephen. You really did. Stephen, would you, did I skip over there? Okay. Would you take the next one, please?
Who's got this?
You do.
Okay. Finality of destiny. Some of the difficulties in forming concepts of infinite reality, integration, are inherent in the fact that all such ideas embrace something of the finality of universal development, some kind of an experiential realization of all that could ever be. And it is inconceivable that quantitative infinity could ever be completely realized in finality. Always there must remain unexplored possibilities in the 3 potentials, absolutes, which no quantity of experiential development could ever exhaust. Eternity itself, though absolute, is not more than absolute.
So no matter how we try to think through it, there's always a possibility of what? Something more, right? Even when we get to settling all 4 outer space levels in light and life, don't you think the plan of God will have something more past that? Because God is continuously expanding. So when you think of the absolute, is it really absolute? Or is it ultimately absolute? You know, where can you put an end on it? The mind cannot put an end on it because the mind of God has no end, right? So that's why it's so important to understand these absolutes, how they continue to grow and grow and grow and grow, right? All right. And that's why they say the ultimate integration of reality currently split into 7 absolutes of infinity. We're talking about infinity here. We're talking about never ending. So these 7 absolutes don't ever stop. Right? What a privilege it is to understand this book and to learn this. You know? All right.
I
Sweetie.
hear music.
Oh, let me get that out of the way, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just couldn't figure out where it came from.
Alright.
I checked all my little duties and nothing said it was making music.
Oh. Even a tentative concept of final integration is inseparable from the fruitions of unqualified eternity, and is therefore practically non-realizable at any conceivable future time.
Basically, what are they saying here? They say that even though you got an integration of all these things and all these things coming into being, there's no conceivable future time where it stops. Right? It just keeps going on and on and on and on.
So layer by layer, we continue to experience God.
Yeah. Destiny is established by the volitional act of the deities. That's the will of the deities, right? Who constitute the Paradise Trinity. Destiny is established in the vastness of the 3 great potentials whose absoluteness encompasses the possibilities of all future development. Destiny is probably consummated by the act of the consummator of universe destiny, and this act is probably involved with the supreme and the ultimate and the Trinity absolute, which we've looked at over and over. An experiential destiny can be at least partially comprehended by experiencing creatures, but a destiny which impinges on infinite existentials is hardly comprehensible. We don't understand it. Finality destiny is an existential, experiential attainment. It's both forever and experience, which appears to involve the deity absolute, but the deity absolute stands in eternity relationship with the unqualified absolute, both the deity and the non-deity, by virtue of the universal absolute, which brings them together, right? And these 3 absolutes, experiential impossibility, are actually existential, and more being limitless, timeless, spaceless, boundless, and measureless, truly infinite. So they have no end, right? That old saying, God without end, that's what it's about. The absolute Trinity, the consummator and universe destiny. Right? All right.
I don't know that I've ever run into that before, consummator of universal destiny.
That may be the only reference to it in the book, Melanie. I'm not sure. I'd have to actually look it up. It's not, I don't think it's underlined that we could even look it up. Let me see if
I
it
know
is.
it's on the chart, but only one time it was at the top of the chart.
Let's go here. Hang on. Let's go back a couple. Let's see what it says, if there's other links to it. It should bring up a browser here. And that's what you can do with all these slides. It should take you to an index. Oh, it's trying to update Firefox. Let's see if I can bring it up here. So what's nice about these, it has links that we can read. Come on up. Should bring it right up here. Let me try it on mine here and see if I can, did it come up? That one. consummator of universe destiny. It's in the list of beings in 31. This reference is for paper 30, which is all the beings of the universe. And then the other two references is from the paper we're in. And the other single references is from the forward as the unrevealed member of the Trinity Absolute. That's it. That's all the references we have of the consummator of universe destiny. So two of the references are in this paper we just read, or we've been reading. Okay?
Yeah.
So it doesn't tell us a whole
When
lot.
I was back at paper 30, it was so mind-boggling it didn't sink in. There's just too much to take in the first papers.
Oh, there are.
And in the end papers, the newspapers too.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit anywhere.
7-4. Okay. Back to 7-4.
It kind of feels out of place in a way because, you know, I guess it just reiterates the forward.
Yeah, it does. You know, this is all the information that I don't know if y'all remember when we did the pre-forward stuff I did that time. This is all the information that was in that pre-forward stuff, basically reiterated. So you almost have to read this before you can understand the forward, so that you can understand the forward, so you can understand the rest of it. You know, so, anyway. Okay, who's up? I think Millie is.
When I give a book to somebody, I always suggest that they not read forward.
Yeah. I gave a book away last week, and I told the guy, I said, start with the life of Christ. It's like reading a novel. Go all the way through that, and then you can go back and read the interesting sections. But if you start with the forward, you're going to be blown
I
away.
highlight things, the
Yeah.
interesting sections, the Garden of Eden, and I go on cycles, and I highlight things in front of them. So here, you want something interesting, read this, but it wasn't an apple.
Yeah. Well, you know, it was interesting. I was working on, I think it was paper 121 the other day. I was redoing all the slides because I used a different format when we studied this last. And I was telling Diane, I read something in, I think it was paper 121 that Jesus was talking about, and it referred to this paper. You know, and I had read it over and over and over again, and I just never, I guess, understood it. But I was telling her I came in amazed that when I was working on this paper, I said, I just read something that Jesus was teaching a young man. Yeah, Ganid. Yeah. And I said, I just realized I never really understood it until today. And I've been reading this paper how many years? You know? So I read it over.
A little bit, it all fit together.
Huh?
Little bit by little bit, it will all fit together.
It all fits together. That's correct. All right. Millie, would you take this slide, please?
The improbability of goal attainment does not, however, prevent philosophical theorizing about such hypothetical destiny. The actualization of the deity absolute as an attainable absolute may be practically impossible of realization. Nevertheless, such a finality fruition remains a theoretical possibility. The involvement of the unqualified absolute in some inconceivable cosmos infinity may be measurably remote in the futurity of endless eternity, but such a hypothesis is nevertheless valid. Mortals, Melanchthons, spirits, finaliters, transcendentalists, and others, together with the universe themselves and all of the phases of reality, certainly do not have a potentiality final destiny.
Do have a potential.
Certainly do have a potentially final destiny that is absolute in value, but we doubt that any being or the universe will ever completely attain all of the aspects of such a destiny. Well, thank you.
Yeah. We just keep going and going and going. We're like the Energizer bunnies, right? We just keep going. All right. Stephen, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. You gonna pull it up?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Oh, but
No matter how much you may grow in Father comprehension, your mind will always be staggered by the unrevealed infinity of the Father I am, the unexplored vastness of which will always remain unfathomable and incomprehensible throughout all the cycles of eternity. No matter how much of God you may attain, there will always remain much more of Him, the existence of which you will not even suspect. And we believe that this is just as true on transcendental levels as it is in the domains of finite existence. The quest for God is endless.
Doesn't stop. That's it in a nutshell, right?
such inability to attain God in a final sense should in no manner discourage universe creatures. Indeed, you can and do attain deity levels of the sevenfold, the supreme and the ultimate, which mean to you what the infinite realization of God the Father means to the eternal Son and to the conjoint actor in their absolute status of eternity existence. Far from harnessing the creature, the infinity of God should be the supreme assurance that throughout all endless futurity and ascending personality will have before him the possibilities of personality development and deity association, which even eternity will neither exhaust nor terminate.
So when you reach this, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, it's only the beginning. It just goes on and on forever. To finite creatures of the grand universe, the concept of the master universe seems to be well nigh infinite. But doubtless the Absonite architects thereof perceive its relatedness to future and unimagined developments within the unending I Am. Even space itself is but an ultimate condition of qualification within the relative absoluteness of the quiet zones of mid-space. So even the universe itself is basically, see, this is the Havona world, and this is the 7 super universe levels. Look how huge the mid-space zone is. And that's between all of these, right? And this is the reservoir of superior space and the reservoir of inferior space. And the look how big the mid-space zone is in between it. So where we live in not only our master universe, but Havona and all the other space zones are very, very small compared to the mid-space zones in which all of this lives. Okay? So it kind of gives you the vastness concept of the universe. Does that help any to see that? All right. At the inconceivably distant future, eternity moment of the final completion of the entire mastering universe, no doubt we will look back upon its entire history as only the beginning. Simply the creation of certain finite and transcendental foundations for even greater and more enthralling metamorphosis in the uncharted infinity. As such a future eternity moment, the master universe will still seem youthful. Indeed, it will always be young. It will be always young in the face of the limitless possibilities of never-ending eternity. So we're just starting, right? All right.
It's exhausting to even think about.
It is. Your mind can't even get around it, can it? slide 101.
Okay.
Got it? All right. Billy, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. At the inconceivably distant future, eternity moment of the final completion of the entire master universe, no doubt we will all look back upon its entire history as only the beginning, simply the creation of certain finite and transcendental foundations for even greater and more enthralling metamorphoses. Did you just read this?
Yes,
Did I?
that was just right.
That's what Roger read, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the next
Oh,
one.
forgive me. Okay, the improbability of infinite.
No.
The improbability of infinite destiny attainment does not in least prevent the entertainment of ideas about such destiny. We do not hesitate to say that if the three absolute potentials could ever become completely actualized, it would be possible to conceive of the final integration of total reality. This developmental realization is predicated on the completed actualization of the unqualified, universal, and deity absolutes, the three potentialities whose union constitutes the latency of the I Am, the suspended realities of eternity, the abeyance possibility of all futurity, is that a word? And more.
Futurity and more, yeah. What are they talking about? They're talking about these three absolutes. If they come to full function in themselves, they still would be functioning within the I Am, the basis of the I Am, right? Which is unlimited. So it's almost like you can speculate about it, but in reality it could never happen because it always goes on and on and on. Okay? Stephen, would you take the next one?
Okay. Such eventualities are rather remote, to say the least. Nevertheless, in the mechanism, personalities, and associations of the three trinities, we believe we detect the theoretical possibility of the reuniting of the seven absolute phases of the Father, I Am, and this brings us face to face with the concept of the threefold Trinity, encompassing Paradise Trinity of existential status and two subsequently appearing trinities of experiential nature and origin.
Okay, and that would be these two. The second level of trinities and the absolute trinity, the third level, the second experiential level, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Let's go on to the trinities of trinities. Sweetie, would you take this one?
8. The Trinity of Trinities. The nature of the Trinity of Trinities is difficult to portray to the human mind. It is the actual summation of the entirety of experiential infinity, as such is manifested in a theoretical infinity of eternity realization. In the Trinity of Trinities, the experiential infinite attains to identity with the existential infinite, and both are as one in the pre-experiential, pre-existential I Am. The Trinity of Trinities is the final expression of all that is implied in the 15 triunities and associated triodities. Finalities are difficult for relative beings to comprehend, be they existential or experiential. Therefore, must they always be presented as
Relativities.
relativities.
Yeah. So what they're saying is for us to understand, it's hard for us to understand all of this, right? When you put it all together. Because we're finite beings and they're talking about experientials and infinite concepts.
Yeah, we have charts.
Yeah, charts we can go by. That's why I leave this up on my computer
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time. I have to constantly remind myself what the goal is here, you know, and what we're talking about, right? All right. Next slide here. All right, the Trinity of Trinities exists in several phases. It contains possibilities, probabilities, and inevitabilities that stagger the imaginations of beings far above the human level. It has implications that are probably unsuspected by the celestial philosophers, for its implications are the triunities, and the triunities are, in the last analysis, unfathomable. So it's not amazing that we can't understand them. Millie, would you take the next slide, please?
Yes. There are a number of ways in which the Trinity of Trinities can be portrayed. We elect to present the three-level concept, which is as follows. 1, the level of the three Trinities. 2, the level of experiential deity. And 3, the level of the I Am.
So we have the top level, which is God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, right? Also, all those trinities that are involved with the other absolutes, including paradise, right? And then we have the level of the experiential deity, and that includes the supreme being, the supreme ultimate, and God the ultimate, right? And finally, the level of the I Am, which encompasses everything, right? There's no other way to look at it, okay? Stephen, would you take the next one, please?
All right. The ultimate Trinity, this is the deity association of
No,
the
that's not the
supreme
next slide.
I'm sorry.
creator.
Did you not change the slide?
I'm sorry, Stephen, I have the wrong one up.
You went past it.
Yeah, it's missing. What is it, 10687?
Is it not there?
It is, but I might think my machine is skipping.
Got it?
Oh, well, the first level, no, it's not it.
No.
10688, it's one more.
No, it's an 8-7.
Yeah, okay. Something else is interesting too. All right, there you go. I'm sorry. Wasn't me
These
that-
are levels of increasing unification. Actually, the Trinity of Trinities is the first level, while the second and third levels are unification derivatives of the first.
There you go. So the first level is God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit. All the levels under that are the unification, or the derivatives of that first level, starting out, right? And you'll see a slide of that in just a second. The first level. Diane?
The first level, on this initial level of association, it is believed that the three trinities function as perfectly synchronized, though distinct, groupings of deity personalities.
One, the Paradise Trinity, the association of the three Paradise deities, Father, Son, and Spirit. It should be remembered that the Paradise Trinity implied a threefold function: an absolute function, a transcendental function, or Trinity of ultimacy, and a finite function, which is the Trinity of supremacy. The Paradise Trinity is any and all of these at all times. So we're talking about this Trinity, right? And they call this the first level of the Trinity of Trinities, right? And this is the existential, always has been, always will be. But it encompasses also the experiential, right? All right. Next. Millie, would you take that?
Okay.
2, the ultimate Trinity. This is the deity association of the supreme creators, God the Supreme, and the architects of the master universe. While this is an adequate presentation of the divinity aspects of this Trinity, it should be recorded that there are other phases of this Trinity, which, however, appear to be perfectly coordinated with the divinity the aspects.
All right, and that
That is what?
that includes this Trinity, the ultimate Trinity, okay? The 7 supreme creators, right?
Which is the same reference page as the consummator of the.
That's right. And the architects of the master universe and the supreme being, okay? And this is called the ultimate Trinity, all right? It's the same one where the, like Diane said, that the other reference is for, right? And this is one of the few places that this slide comes from, is this paper, all right? Let's keep going. Stephen, would you take the next one?
Okay. The absolute Trinity. This is a grouping of God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and consummator of universe destiny in regard to all divinity values. Certain other phases of this triune grouping have to do with other than divinity values in the expanding cosmos. But these are unified with the divinity phases, just as the power and personality aspects of the experiential deities are now in process of experiential synthesis.
All right, and that is talking about this slide again, the consummators of universe deity, the eventuated ultimate being, or the transcendental absolute deity, and the evolved supreme, right? See how these slides always come back, encompass most of what they're talking about. All right, here, would you take the next one?
The association of these 3 trinities.
Trinities.
Excuse me. The association of these 3 trinities in the Trinity of Trinities provides for a possible unlimited integration of reality. This grouping contains causes, intermediates, and finals, inceptors, realizers, and consummators, beginnings, existences, and destinies. The Father-Son partnership has become Son-Spirit, and then Spirit Supreme, and on to Supreme Ultimate, and Ultimate Absolute, even to Absolute and Father Infinite, the completion of the cycle of reality. Likewise, in other phases not so immediately concerned with the divinity and personality, does the first great source and center self-realize the limitless of reality around the circle of eternity, from the absoluteness of self-existence through the endlessness of self-revelation to the finality of self-realization, from the absolute of existentials to the finality of experientials.
Notice here this paragraph, this is a very rare paragraph to me because it breaks down the way that all these things are related to each other. What am I talking about? The Father-Son partnership then becomes the Son-Spirit. This is what started it all out, right? Then the Spirit with the Supreme, and the Supreme's the experiential, right? Then the Supreme to the ultimate, and that involves the outer space levels, right? And then the ultimate to the absolute, and that's consummating everything, all the master universe, all 4 outer space levels, right? And then it goes on to talk about the absolute and the Father infinite. So this is the complete cycle of all reality as we have been told about it anyway, right? And part of it is concerned with the deity and personality, and part of it is not, because we have the Isle of Paradise involved, which is not a deity entity, right? And then it goes on to the self-existence through the endless self-revelation. Who are we talking about here? God the Father, or the Father I Am, right? Revealing Himself through these expressions to eventually getting on to the finality of experientials, okay? Which is our experience and the Supreme's experience. It's nice how it breaks it all down in this paragraph. All right. The second level, the coordination of the 3 trinities, inevitably involves the associated union of the experiential deities, who are genetically associated with these trinities. The nature of the second level has been sometimes represented as. Millie, would you take the next one, please?
1. The Supreme. This is the deity consequence of the unity of Paradise Trinity, the experiential liaison with the Creator-created children of the Paradise deities. The Supreme is the deity embodiment of the completion of the first stage of finite evolution.
And that's where we're involved, right? The finite evolution. And this is the Supreme, right? Notice this arrow here. God the Supreme in Habona is the personal spirit reflection of the triune Paradise deity. So the Supreme is the reflection of this Trinity. And we are finite, which add to the Supreme. Okay? All right, let's go on. Stephen, would you take the next one? The ultimate?
Okay, 2. The ultimate. This is a deity consequence of the eventuated unity of the second Trinity, transcendental and absonite, personification of divinity. The ultimate consists in a variable, regarded unity of many qualities, and the human conception thereof would do well to include at least those phases of ultimacy which are controlled, directing, personally, experiential
Experienceable, yeah.
unifying. But there are many other unrevealed aspects of the eventuated deity. While the ultimate and the supreme are comparable, they are not identical. Neither is the ultimate merely an amplification of the supreme.
Okay, so the ultimate is not just the Supreme, the next step of the Supreme, basically, right? So we have God the Supreme here. This is the absolute Trinity, the second experiential post-Sabbath Trinity. God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and the unrevealed consummator of universe destiny. That's the thing we just looked up, the very few references to, right? And it says here, the absolute Trinity, the second experiential Trinity, now in process of actualization, will consist of God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and the unrevealed consummator of universe destiny. This Trinity functions on both personal and superpersonal levels, even to the borders of the non-personal. And its unification is in universality would experientialize absolute deity. And that's to come. Okay? And then the next slide is the absolute. Okay. Dear, would you take this one?
Yes. 3. The absolute. There are many theories held as to the character of the third member of the second level of the Trinity of Trinities. God the Absolute is undoubtedly involved in this association as the personality consequence of the final function of the Trinity Absolute. Yet the Deity Absolute is an existential reality of eternity status.
And what are they talking about? The Deity Absolute, the Absolute Trinity, right? Which we've looked at many times. Okay? The concept difficulty regarding this third member is inherent in the fact that the presupposition of such a member really implies just one absolute. Theoretically, if such an event could take place, we should witness the experiential unification of the three absolutes as one. Right? We're talking about the original absolutes. And we are taught that in affinity and existentially there is one absolute, while in at least clear as to those who this third member can be. It is often postulated that such may consist of the deity, universal, and unqualified absolutes, in some form of imagined liaison in cosmic manifestation. Certainly the Trinity of Trinities could hardly attain to complete function short of full unification with the three absolutes, and the three absolutes can hardly be unified short of the complete realization of all infinite potentials. throughout all eternity, right? And then we have destiny, the universal, the qualified, and the unqualified absolute. Okay, all coming together. All right. Change the slide here. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. It will probably represent a minimum distortion of truth if the third member of the Trinity of Trinities is conceived as the universal absolute, provided this conception envisions the universal not only as static in potential, but also as associative. But we still do not perceive the relationship to the creative and evolutional aspects of the function of total deity.
So it could consummate in the universal absolute. They're not sure. If they're not sure, we're surely not going to be sure. All right. All right. Stephen, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. Though a complete concept of the Trinity of Trinities is difficult to form, a qualified concept is not so difficult. If the second level of the Trinity of Trinities is conceived as essentially personal, it becomes quite possible to postulate the union of God the Supreme, God the Ultimate, and God the Absolute as the personal repercussions of the union of the personal trinities who are ancestral to these experiential deities. We venture the opinion that these three experiential deities will certainly unify on the second level as a direct consequence of the growing unity of their ancestral and causative triinities who constitute the first level.
Okay. So we here again, we have the second level of Trinity, the Trinity, the Supreme, the involves Supreme being the qualified absolute or the deity absolute, and the eventuated ultimate being. Okay.
The first level consists of three trinities. The second level exists as a personality association of experiential evolved, experiential eventuated, and experiential existential deity personalities. And regardless of any conceptual difficulty in understanding the complete Trinity of Trinities, the personal association of these three deities on the second level has become manifest to our own universe age in the phenomena of the deitization of Majeston, who was actualized on the second level by the deity absolute, acting through the ultimate and in response to the initial creative mandate of the Supreme Being.
All right, so then we have Majeston, all right? And right here it says when the 49, let me read it from here. When the 49 reflective spirit had personalized, then a new and far-reaching reaction occurred in the deity absolute, which imparted new personality prerogatives to the Supreme Being, and the culminated in the personalization of Majeston, the king of reflectivity, right? And the chief, reflectivity chief and the paradise center of all work of the 49 reflective spirits and associates throughout the universe of universes. So because of the Supreme Being in Havona, the culmination of this experience created Majeston, which created reflectivity and the 49 reflective spirits. Very interesting here. The third level. Millie, would you read this one? You Still with us, Millie?
Millie, you're on, oh, she's just sitting there. It's your turn now.
I can hear you, I'm standing up beside you. The third level is an unqualified hypothesis of the second level of the Trinity of Trinities. There is embrace in correlation with every phase of every kind of reality that is, or was, or could be in the eternity of infinity. The Supreme Being is not only spirit, but also mind and power and experience. The ultimate is all this and much more. Why? In the conjoined concept of the oneness of deity, universal and unqualified absolutes, there is included the absolute finality of all reality realization.
All right, so the ultimate is not just the continuation of the Supreme Being, it's an entity within itself, right? The culmination of all the Supreme and then some. When you get out of my light, Kitty.
Grayson. Come here, Grayson.
No, let's, is that Grayson?
Yes.
Yeah, he's just trying to cause trouble to
He was trying to get out of Buford's way.
me. Yeah. Stephen, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. In the union of the supreme, ultimate, and the complete absolute, there could occur the functional reassembly of those aspects of infinity which were originally segmentalized by the I Am, and which resulted in the appearance of the seven absolutes of infinity. Though the universe philosophers deem this to be a most remote probability, still we often ask this question: if the second level of the Trinity of Trinities could ever achieve Trinity unity, what then would transpire as a consequence of such deity unity? We do not know, but we are confident that it would lead directly to the realization of the I Am as an experiential attainment. From the standpoint of personal beings, it could mean that the unknowable I Am had become experienceable as the Father Infinite. What these absolute destinies might mean for a non-personal standpoint is another matter, and one which only eternity could possibly clarify. But as we view these remote eventualities as personal creatures, we deduce that the final destiny of all personalities and the final knowing of the universal Father of these self-same personalities.
All right, so they speculate on what could happen if these things come into being also. Let's get this next slide. Here.
As we philosophically conceive of the I Am in past eternity, he is alone. There is none beside him. Looking forward into future eternity, we do not see that the I Am could possibly change as an existential. But we are inclined to forecast a vast experiential difference. Such a concept of the I Am implies full self-realization. It embraces that limitless galaxy of personalities who have become volitional participants in self-revelation of the I Am, and who will remain eternally as absolute volitional parts of the totality of infinity, final sons of the absolute Father.
Sorry, y'all, I've got water all over the computer here. I'm trying to get back to where I am. We're on,
Postulated I Am.
as we, is that the right slide? Is that the way you
I just wrote that.
Okay. Well, I don't even know how to adjust that one, address that one. But this is a slide of the postulated I Am they're talking about in the third level of Trinities of Trinity. Right. All right. Let's go on to 9. I lost my train of thought there on that one. Okay. Had a kitty problem there. Existential infinite unification. In the concept of the Trinity of Trinities, we postulate the possible experiential unification of limitless reality. And we sometimes theorize that all this may happen in the utter remoteness of the far distant eternity. But there is nonetheless an actual and present unification of infinity in this very age, as in all past and future universe ages. Such unification is existential in the Paradise Trinity. Always have been, always will be. Infinity unification as an experiential reality is unthinkably remote, but an unqualified unity of infinity now dominates the present moment of universe existence and unites the divergence of all reality and the existential majesty that is absolute. And we're speculating about the future. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one, please?
Yes. When finite creatures attempt to conceive of infinite unification on the finality levels of consummated eternity, they are face to face with intellect limitations inherent in their finite existences. Time, space, and experience constitute barriers to creature concept, and yet, without time, apart from space, and except for experience, no creature could achieve even a limited comprehension of universe reality. Without time sensitivity, no evolutionary creature could possibly perceive the relations of sequence. Without space perception, no creature could fathom the relations of simultaneity. Without experience, no evolutionary creature could even exist. Only the seven absolutes of infinity really transcend experience. And even these may be experiential in certain cases.
So because we're finite beings and we live in time and space and these things are important to us, that's how we perceive of the universe, right? And it's only the seven absolutes that really transcend all of this. Time, space, the whole 9 yards. All right. Stephen, would you take the next one?
Time, space, and experience are man-made aid
No, they need to,
in reality. I'm getting a little feedback there.
It's
I don't know
okay.
if
She
anybody else has or
she
not.
muted her mic.
All right.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Experience are man's greatest aids to relative reality perception, and yet his most formidable obstacles to complete reality perception. Mortals and many other universe creatures find it necessary to think of potentials as being actualized in space and evolving to fruition in time. But this entire process is a time-space phenomenon, which does not actually take place on paradise and in eternity. On the absolute level, there is neither time nor space. All potentials may be there, perceived as actual.
Because there's no time and space, everything that could be is, as far as they're concerned. So, you know, it's kind of interesting too. It talks about, and when you think about the thought adjuster, when you have faith that you will fuse with your adjuster, to the adjuster it actually is. Because the adjuster perceives in non-time sequence space, right? So when you are betrothed to the adjuster, as far as the adjuster is concerned, it is an actuality. And unless you refuse to go on and rebel, then the fusion will take place eventually, one way or another. So it's kind of...
So, in other words, what you're saying is that it's up to us as to whether or not that fusion will take place, our will and our choice.
That's right. It's all about faith. Everything is about faith. Once you believe that you're a faith son of God and you're betrothed to that adjuster, then as far as the adjuster is concerned, it's reality. Okay? And it's only up to the point of fusion. If you change your mind and you refuse to fuse with that adjuster, if that's the case, that's the only way that will not happen. Is you have to make a conscious choice that you do not want to go on. Right? That's a tough one. Puts it all back on us, Steve. Every bit of it. All right.
Well, it's God's will that we fuse with our adjuster, and
Yeah.
once again, it goes back to that.
Yeah.
We have to follow God's will.
We either follow God's will or we don't. That's what it boils down to, right? Okay. Would you take the next one?
The concept of the unification of all reality, be it in this or any other universe age, is basically twofold, existential and experiential. Such a unity is in process of experiential realization in the Trinity of Trinities, but the degree of the apparent actualization of this threefold Trinity is directly proportional to the disappearance of the qualifications and imperfections of reality in the cosmos. But total integration of reality is unqualifiedly and eternally and existentially present in the Paradise Trinity, within which, at this very universe moment, infinite reality is absolutely unified.
In the concept of the Trinity, reality is already unified and everyone has already reached what? Light and life. But it's only in the concept of the Trinity that it's that way. It's our human viewpoint that makes it otherwise, all right? So that creates a paradox, all right? The paradox created by the experiential and the existential viewpoints is inevitable and is predicated in part on the fact that the Paradise Trinity and the Trinity of Trinities are an eternal relationship which mortals can only perceive as time-space relativity. The human concept of the gradual experiential actualization of the Trinity of Trinities, the time viewpoint, must be supplemented by the additional postulate that this is already a factualization. The eternity viewpoint, as far as they're concerned, has happened. But how can these two viewpoints be reconciled? To finite mortals, we suggest the acceptance of the truth that the Paradise Trinity is the existential unification of infinity, and that the inability to detect the actual presence and complete manifestation of the experiential Trinity of Trinities is in part due to reciprocal distortion because of, very important, because of, one, the limited human viewpoint, the inability to grasp the concept of the unqualified eternity. Two, the imperfect human status, the remoteness from the absolute level of experientials. We haven't learned it yet. Three, the purpose of human existence, the fact that mankind is designed to evolve by the technique of experience and therefore must be inherently and constitutively dependent on experience. Only an absolute can be both existential and experiential. So that's the paradox. That's the paradox, right? The way God looks at it, the way we look at it. We look at it. We looks at it. Millie, would you take the next one, please? And
That's
then,
an exception to that first one. The human's inability to grasp the concept of unqualified eternity. I grasp the concept, I just can't envision it.
right.
I got the concept. Okay, the universal Father in the Paradise Trinity is the I am of the Trinity of Trinities. And failure to experience the Father as infinite is due to finite limitations. The concept of existential, solitary, pre-Trinity, non-attainable I am, and the postulate of the experiential post-Trinity of Trinities and attainable I am are one and the same hypothesis. No actual change has taken place in the infinite. All apparent developments are due to increased capacities of reality, reception, and cosmic appreciation.
Our understanding of it, that's the only difference between the two, right? In reality, it's something totally different. Stephen, would you take the next one?
Okay. The I am, in the final analysis, must exist before all existentials and after all experientials. While these ideas may not clarify the paradoxes of eternity and infinity in the human mind, they should at least stimulate such finite intellects to grapple anew with these never-ending problems which will continue to intrigue you on Salvation and later as finalators, and on throughout the unending future of your eternal careers in the wide-spreading universes.
So this will go on after we leave here indefinitely, trying to understand these concepts, right? All right, sweetie, would you take the next one?
Sooner or later, all universe personalities begin to realize that the final quest of eternity is the endless exploration of infinity, the never-ending voyage of discovery into the absoluteness of the first source and center. Sooner or later, we all become aware that all creature growth is proportional to Father identification. We arrive at the understanding that living the will of God is the eternal passport to the endless possibility of infinity itself. Mortals will sometime realize that success in the quest of the infinite is directly proportional to the achievement of Father-likeness, and that in this universe age, the realities of the Father are revealed within the qualities of divinity. And these qualities of divinity are personally appropriated by universe creatures in the experience of living divinely. And to live divinely means actually to live the will of God.
To live the will of God. That's the whole key, right? Key to understanding. To material, evolutionary, finite creatures, a life predicated on the living of the Father's will leads directly to the attainment of spirit's supremacy in the personality arena and brings such creatures one step nearer the comprehension of the Father infinite. Such a Father life is one predicated on truth, sensitive to beauty, and dominated by goodness. Such a God-knowing person is inwardly illuminated by worship and outwardly devoted to the wholehearted service of the universal brotherhood of all personalities, as service ministry which is filled with mercy and motivated by love. While all these life qualities are unified in the evolving personality on ever-ascending levels of cosmic wisdom, self-realization, God-finding, and Father worship. It's the whole key to it right there. And this was presented by Melchizedek of Nebadon. I wanted to mention this at the end of these slides. I have a whole group of 10 more slides. These are study slides which you can go through in your leisure. And these are many of the slides which we read tonight about the absolutes, the unqualified, God the supreme, the ultimate. All these extra slides I stuck in here, I put at the end so you could study them separately. Okay? And you can download these on our website. Next time, the 5 papers, the origin and nature of the thought adjusters, my favorite papers. So we'll start that next time. I hope y'all enjoyed this study we had.
It was really interesting. It really came together.
Pretty good. Stephen, would you like to pray for us tonight? Closes?
No,
No?
pass.
Pass? How about you, Diane?
We just thank you so much, Father, Mother God, for this opportunity to study this magnificent paper. Repetition. It takes us repetitious times to read it, to study it, to come together and to discuss it and have it remove one more layer of our ability so that we can see more clearly and understand it, perceive it better. We thank you for this wonderful revelation, just over and over. It's just our hearts are so very, very grateful. So grateful that we have this opportunity to learn it. It enhances our life in every aspect of every life. It is in your name, Jesus Christ, my Lord, and I will give praise. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. thank you for joining us at home. And I will add this video to the front of the slides, so both the videos will be at the very first page of the slides, so you can watch these anytime you want.
Thanks for coming.